the tyrannical crackdown in Ottawa and in Canada against the truckers appears to have subsided, although only a little bit. Apparently, they've told some of the banks that were, systematically cutting people off, shutting down their accounts. They're like, let's slow down on this. Let's restore some of these accounts. So apparently, there's a little bit of a pullback, I think motivated not by civil liberties concerns or even humanitarian concerns, but just political pressure that the Trudeau administration is under. But nevertheless, one of the themes that I'm reading about and seeing in conservative commentary is, this is very troubling because there's been such a rapid metamorphosis in Canada toward tyranny, and that could come to the United States. But I think a lot of the people who say this, and some of these Republican establishment figures who are echoing this, don't realize that kind of tyranny is already here. In fact, arguably, and Julie Kelly actually in American Greatness does argue this, she goes, we sort of invented it. We started this. The January 6th prosecutions have been a kind of model for the Canadians. The Canadians have been learning from January 6th and not the other way around. I mean, here's a little tidbit. Here's Steve Bell, the acting chief of the Ottawa Police, and he's making a public announcement. He says, if you're involved in this protest, we will actively look to identify you and follow up with financial sanctions and criminal charges, absolutely. And he goes on to say basically that this is an investigation that will go on for months. And he goes, we're going to get the people who, quote, took over our streets. Now, notice the close similarity between what he's saying and what actually happened on January 6th. We're going to look you up. We're going to find you. We're going to use geo-tracking and other ways to get you. Don't think you're going to get away with it just because you got home. We're going to find you and we're going to prosecute you and we're going to criminally charge you. They could have added, we're going to put you in solitary confinement. We will keep you locked up for a year or more, even if you are charged with only a misdemeanor or nonviolent offenses, quote, parading in the Capitol. By the way, a public building that's supposed to be the people's house. And the other thing is there's a massive, massive allocation of resources to January 6th. And Julie points out it's thousands of Justice Department employees, FBI agents from 56 field offices around the country. In fact, Merrick Garland has confessed this is the biggest investigation in the department's history. More than 730 people have been arrested for January 6th related events. And by the way, that is 3 times the total number of federal arrests in the Antifa BLM riots. So think of it, the Antifa BLM riots lasted for like months. They resulted in far greater carnage, much greater violence, much greater death and destruction. And yet, the number of people arrested in all those riots combined, 1/3, which is to say somewhere around 250 people total. Another interesting phenomenon is that the Trudeau government has been asking people to sort of turn in their family, turn in their neighbors, let people know, oh yeah, my neighbor down the street, you know what? He's a trucker. He's involved in the protest. Let's go, you go get him. Same thing with January 6th. The FBI is always putting up notices. Do you know a family member or a cousin of yours, or do you recognize this guy from your high school as having been inside the Capitol and, rat him out. Tell us his name. We'll go get him. We'll send some SWAT teams. We'll send some helicopters. So this mobilization of terrifying force, of shock and awe, you might say, but against our own citizens, this is not something that Trudeau came up. This is something that was patented well over a year before right here in the United States. And one may say that the Canadians are taking our example, not the other way around.